Begin the Gemara today and Daf Tzadik Aleph, Amud Aleph, about 10 lines into the Amud, where it says, Rabbi Yosi Omer, Ksubasa al Nichse Baila v'cholo. This goes back to the Mishnah of the beginning of the Perek, where it spoke about a woman that came and said that her husband left, and she has an Eid Echad telling her that her husband passed away. And she got remarried, and then after a while, her husband comes back. So what happens? The Mishnah there said a list of things, of 16 things that it says she has to leave her first husband and the second husband. She has to get a get from her first husband and second husband. The whole list of things. After it says that list of things, it brings 3 Tanaim that argue on some of those things that the Mishnah said. The first Tana, this is relevant for the continuation of the Gemara here. The first Tana is Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi said this, that the Mishnah said that she gets no ksuba, not from her first husband and not from her second husband. Rabbi Yosi says she does get a ksuba from her first husband. That's still her real husband. Then there's Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar says this, that you said that usually a woman, her husband gets any of the lost items that she brings home and also her income. So Rabbi Yosi and also Hafaras Nadarim, the fact that the husband could annul her vows. So Rabbi Lazar says the first husband will still get her mitzvah and her income and Hafaras Nadarim. So that's the second opinion, Rabbi Lazar. And then Rab Shimon says that the Mishnah said that for this woman there's no yibum or chalitza, even if her first husband passes away. The mitzvah of yibum does not apply. So Rab Shimon says that there is bia or there is yibum or chalitza from the first husband, because that still is the real husband. So we have the 3 opinions here of these 3 details: Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Lazar, and Rab Shimon. And basically, the common denominator of all these 3 opinions is they're all arguing on what the Tanakama said, that we don't treat the first husband as a husband anymore. So they're all bringing different aspects that we say, no, we still do treat the first husband as a husband. Zak the Gemara. Amar Rav Huna, so Rav Huna said, Basroi Maida Lekamoi. The 2 later opinions that are brought here regarding those details, that the first husband is still a husband, they agree to the first opinion. They agree to Rabbi Yosi. But Kamoi Loi Maida LeBasroi. The 2 first opinions, they do not agree to the last opinion, which is Rab Shimon. They're each bringing different aspects, so the Gemara will now explain what this means, that some agree to the others and others don't agree to the first. As we'll see, the Gemara here spells this out. So starting with Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon was the last opinion that was brought in the Mishnah. Rab Shimon was the one that said that for Yibum and Chalitza, she's still, the first husband is still considered to be a husband. So now Rab Shimon, Rab Shimon will agree to Rabbi Lazar that says that regarding a mitzvah, regarding a lost item or regarding her income, he's still a husband. How do we know Rab Shimon agrees to Rabbi Lazar? So the Gemara says it would be a kavachimer. The ma biyah, the ikiri surah, if it comes to biyah, saying that this woman could have relations with the yavam. That's the whole Ikke Isser. How did this Mishnah begin? The Mishnah began that the main knas that Chachamim gave this woman is Teitzeh mizeh mizeh, that she can't have relations not with her first husband, not with the second husband. So when it comes to biyah, over here, having relations with the yavam, which is a continuation after the first husband passed away. So that's the Ikke Isser, loy kanes. So Rab Shimon says that main knas does not apply. Kol shekain, if so, most definitely he agrees to Rabbi Lazar, mitziyasa or maisi yadeh, comes to a mitzvah or her income, the memainahu. This is just a money thing, a money matter that she has to give her husband because it's her husband. So for sure over here, Rab Shimon would agree to Rabbi Lazar that knas for money does not apply. So therefore we know that Rab Shimon agrees to Rabbi Lazar. And for Rabbi Lazar, on the other hand though, Rabbi Lazar le'maydele Rab Shimon. Rabbi Lazar that says that we do not apply the knas for the mitzvah and the ma'asiyadeh. For her income, he will not agree to Rab Shimon that we don't apply the knas for the yibum. Why? Mitziyasa ma'asiyadeh comes to a mitzvah or ma'asiyadeh or income the memainahu. Since it's only money, like kanis. So he says that regarding the money matter, they did not apply the knas. Avul biyah the isurahu. Biyah, which is the main Isser that Chachamim said that she should not have relations with the first or second husband, and therefore over here the same regarding the Biyah for the Yavam, Kanis, that according to Rabbi Lazar there would be a Knas. Now v'tarvayu, both Rabbi Lazar and Rab Shimon, Maidulei le Rabbi Yosi. They both agreed to Rabbi Yosi that said that the first husband has to give the Ksubah. So why? Because Hani, the Yasva to say, Leikanis, if regarding this matter over here, regarding her income, regarding her mitzvah, this is something that's between the husband and wife while she's married to him, while she's living with him. So if regarding those things they did not give a knas, Chachamim did not impose the knas, so the kol sheken ksube, most definitely regarding the ksube money, the lemishkal umeifak. This is the money that she takes when she leaves him. Lemishkal umeifak koi. That's when she gets the ksube. So for sure they did not make that knas. The whole point of it here is Chachamim don't want her to remain married to her husband. So if Chachamim allow her to say that she would treat the husband like a husband for the things that matter while she's living with him, so for sure regarding the ksubah that she gets when she leaves him, they did not impose a knas on that. So therefore we know that Rab Lazar and Rab Shimon disagree with Rab Yaisi. Now the reverse, Rab Yaisi, loy maidilahu. Rab Yaisi does not agree to them. What is Rab Yaisi's opinion? Ksubah de lemishkala meifeku. Since the ksubah, she only gets the ksubah when she leaves him. So therefore, delay kanis. Who delay kanis it is? So therefore, regarding the ksubah, we say there's no reason to give a knas. We want her to leave her husband. She gets the ksubah when she's leaving it. So she's anyways leaving. Avahani di yasva to say kanis. But the other things that I mentioned regarding mitzia and ma'asiyadeh, which is between the husband and wife while they're married, for that they did impose their knas. They want them to separate. Therefore, we know that Rabbi Yaisi disagrees with Rabbi Lazar and Rab Shimon. This is Rav Huna's approach. Rabbi Yechanan says the exact reverse. Rabbi Yechanan has a different svara here, and he says the reverse. Kamoi maidul basroi. The two earlier opinions, which is Rabbi Yaisi and Rabbi Lazar, they agreed to Rab Shimon. They agreed to the later opinion. But basroi loy maidul kamoi. The two later opinions that are Rabbi Lazar and Rab Shimon, they disagree to Rabbi Yaisi. So he's saying the exact reverse of Rav Huna. And he explains, he has another svara for this. Reason why we say that probably that it makes sense to say that Rabbi Yaisi agrees to Rabbi Lazar is as follows. Also with a kal v'chaimer. Ksube demididei lidida. Ksube is something that's her benefit. Who's the one over here that we're trying to give a knas to? Who's the one that did the isser? The woman. She's the one that got remarried to a second husband without making a proper investigation. Right? So ksube is something that's a benefit that comes from the husband to her. And loy kanas, and still Rabbi Yaisi says we do not give her a knas. So v'kol sheken, if so, most definitely he would agree mitziyasa ma'asiyadeh, item that she finds, or her income, the midida lididei. This is something that goes from her to him. This is something that she has to give him. It's not a benefit that she gets. So for sure, Rabbi Yaisi would agree that there's no reason to impose a knas regarding this. Why should the husband lose out? He didn't do anything wrong. And Rabbi Lazar loy maidilei. So if so, we understand that in the reverse, Rabbi Lazar would not agree to Rabbi Yaisi because mitziyasa ma'asiyadeh hu de midida lididei, when it comes to a mitziyah or her income, since this is something that goes from her to him, so leikanis, there's no reason to make a knas because he did nothing wrong. Avak ksube de mididei lidida, the ksube, which is the money that he has to give her, so kanis. Over there, Rabbi Lazar and Rab Shimon would say there is a knas that she doesn't get her ksube because she didn't make a proper investigation when she got remarried. Now the tarvayu, both Rabbi Yaisi and Rabbi Lazar, maidulei le Rab Shimon. They both agree to the knas that they agree to what Rab Shimon said, that we do not make the knas that she can't do the mitzvah of yibum. Why? Because umahani the mechayim loikansi. If we're talking about a ksube or about her mitzvah or ma'asiyadeh, those are things that are relevant when she's still alive. And still, Chachamim did not impose that knas on her. Biyeh de la'acha mise, so if it comes to the relation of her to have with her yavam after her husband, her first husband already passed away, like kol shekei, most definitely they didn't impose the knas after the first husband passed away. V'Rab Shimon, so if so we understand the reverse, that Rab Shimon le'maidulahu, Rab Shimon does not agree to Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Yaisi. Biyeh, when it comes to the relations of this woman to the yavam, after her first husband passed away, like since he already passed away, so now we don't extend the knas after the first husband passed away. Avulhani, the other details before regarding her mitzvah or her income, or regarding a ksubah that she would get even when the first husband divorces her here, the mechayim, she's still alive, kanis. So over there, since she's still alive, or the first husband that is still alive, so therefore she gets that knas. So that's why Rabbi Yechanan said the exact reverse of Rav Huna. Going back to what it said in the Mishnah, after it brings Rab Shimon's opinion. So the last thing it said over here in the Mishnah was that Rab Shimon's opinion. And right after it brings Rab Shimon's opinion regarding this halacha, that she can still do the mitzvah of Yibum for her first husband, if her first husband passes away, the next thing the Mishnah says is, Nisis shaloi b'rishus, if she gets married without the permission of Bezdin, and what that means is she didn't have to go to Bezdin at all because she didn't get remarried based on the words of an Eid Echad. She got remarried based on the words of two Eidim. And then the Mishnah says, in such a case, she will not have to leave her first husband, because this is considered to be an Einis. Once she had two Eidim saying her husband passed away, she does not have to make her own investigation. So therefore, she's an Einis and she can go back to her first husband. So now, Omarav Hona Omarav Hachi Ilchasa. We paskin like this halacha that the Mishnah says. So as we'll see here, the Gemara now understands that this will be the whole discussion here in the Gemara, that what this means is that this halacha the Mishnah here said was also part of Rab Shimon's words. Rab Shimon is the one that said this, and he's saying the halacha is like Rab Shimon. Amalei Rav Nachman, so Rav Nachman said to Rav Huna, Ganve Genuvi Lamalach. Why do you have to say this as if you're some kind of a thief, that you're saying that Hachi Hilchasa, this is the halacha? Isvirulach Rab Shimon, since this is Rab Shimon speaking. So if you hold that the halacha is like Rab Shimon, so Eima halacha Rab Shimon. You should say the halacha is like Rab Shimon. The Shmaitech Rab Shimon Kozla, because the halacha you're saying is following Rab Shimon. Why not say the halacha by the name of the Tana that said this halacha?
Why is it following Rab Shimon?
Because again, the Gemara now understands that this halacha that the Mishnah here says, Nisis Shalei B'Rishus, is not just a Stam Mishnah speaking, but it's a continuation of Rab Shimon speaking. So if it's Rab Shimon, so you should say the halacha is like Rab Shimon. Now, if you'll argue and say, you'll say to me, if I'm going to tell you that the halacha is like Rab Shimon, so then people will make a mistake. Mashma afilu b'kamaisa. People will think that the halacha is like Rab Shimon, even regarding the first point that Rab Shimon said. What was the first point that Rab Shimon said? Going back to the halacha of the knas. So Rab Shimon said that you don't give a knas for this woman, that she can't do the mitzvah of yibum for the first husband. So you would think that the halacha is like Rab Shimon for that as well. So I'll ask you, so then Eime, so you could say halacha ke Rab Shimon ba'achreina, that the halacha is like Rab Shimon regarding the second point that he said, which is this point here that if she got married with Eidim, she can go back to her first husband. Kashya. So that remains a question on Rav Huna. Why did he say Hachi Hilchasa and not that the halacha is like Rab Shimon? So now Rav Sheshes disagrees with this. Rav Sheshes. Should Rav Sheshes said, Amina, I say that Kinayim v'shachiv Rav. Rav was sort of dozing off and he was sleeping. Amra laha shmaitase. He said this halacha here, that the halacha is like this, that the halacha is like Rab Shimon. Why? Halacha, if he's saying that the halacha is like Rab Shimon, meklal de pligi. So that indicates that the Tana Kama of our Mishnah disagrees with Rab Shimon. But he says that can't be, because in such a case where she got remarried based on two Eidim, and now therefore it's an Einis, and we allow her to go back to her first husband, nobody could argue on this, because my hava leila mevad, or my hava lala mevad, what is it that she could have done? She wants to get remarried, she has two Eidim telling her husband died, so what else should she do? Why can't she get remarried? Me'enes ansa, this is a total Einis, it's out of her control. She now knows, based on the words of two Eidim, that her husband died. Why can't she get remarried? So why should we give her any knas that she should not be allowed to go back to her first husband? So Rav Sheshes is saying it must be that everybody agrees to this halacha. It's not just Rav Shimon. That's one question, which the Gemara will address soon. But now he had another question. V'oid Tanya, we have a braisa, and here in this braisa, he's going to prove that this braisa shows that it's not only Rav Shimon that holds this. Even the Chachamim, even the Tana Kama of our Mishnah also agreed to this, that she can go back to her first husband. What does the braisa say? Kol arayas shebetoire, or the Bach here is good, is kol arayas she'omru, regarding all different kinds of arayas that it was said, that ein tzriches heimenu get, that if she got married to one of these arayas, she doesn't even need a get at all, because the kedushin never took effect. As we know, when it's an erva of a koris, kedushin never takes effect, so you don't need a get. So that's true regarding all arayas. Chutz me'eshes ish shenisis api bezdin. So this is besides the case that we're speaking about here regarding a Eishes Ish that was told by the words of an Eid Echad that, and therefore Bezdin, Paskin, that she can go and get remarried. And then she finds out that her husband is still alive. So over here, she's going to need a get from the second husband, even though you would think that the second marriage never really took effect. But in such a case, she is going to need a get from the second husband. That's what it says here in this Braisa. Even though she got the permission of the Bezdin, but the point we learned before was that it's not considered to be an Einis. She should have made her own investigation, because Bezdin is relying on her to make an investigation, since she's relying on the words of only an Eid Echad. So now what do we see from this Braisa? Alpi Bezdin hu de boye gitte. Only when it comes to this case, when she got remarried based on the words of Bezdin with an Eid Echad, so then she will need a get. So this refers to this din of a get and all the knossos that they gave for this case. But al pi edim, if she got remarried because she had two edim and she didn't need a bezdin at all, so then loy boy gita, she will not need a get. She just can go back to her first husband. So we see over here, this is a braise that's telling you that this halacha that we said in the Mishnah, that in a case when she gets married based on two edim, so we don't compare that to the first case in the Mishnah when she got married with one eid. That's the braise. Basically the same halacha that it said in our Mishnah. But regarding our Mishnah, the Gemara said that Rav understood that that's only Rab Shimon. But here now the Gemara will prove that this Braisa is not Rab Shimon. Mani, who is this Braisa? Ileim Rab Shimon. If you'll say that this Braisa here as well as Rab Shimon, but it can't be. And now the Gemara will bring a second Braisa. And in this second Braisa, it seems to be saying that Rab Shimon disagrees with what it said in our Mishnah. What did it say in our Mishnah? Based on In our Mishnah, it said that there's a difference between a woman that got remarried with one aid or a woman that got remarried with two aidim. If she got remarried with one aid, she's going to need a get from the first and second husband. If she got remarried with two aidim, she does not need a get. Now, Rab Shimon disagrees with this. Again, Rab Shimon, are you going to say that this Braisa follows Rab Shimon? But it can't be, because he disagrees with this. Al pi bezdin, mi boy a get, even a woman that gets remarried based on the word of bezdin, because she only has one aid, would she need a get according to Rab Shimon? Vatanya, but we learned in the Braisa that Rab Shimon disagrees with our Mishnah. What did Rab Shimon say? Rab Shimon Oimer, Asu Bezdin B'hoira Asan. They considered a Bezdin, when Bezdin gave their psak din, and Bezdin said that this woman could get remarried based on the words of an Eid Echad, Kizadain Ish B'isha. They considered it to be like a man and a woman that had a relationship with one another, b'mezid, intentionally, even though she was an Eishes Ish. She went and intentionally had a relationship with another man. That's what they compared it to. And al pi edim, if she gets remarried based on the words of two edim, kishigigas ish biisha, like a shaygig, like a man and a woman that she's an eishes ish, and they had a relationship with one another b'shaygig. And as such, so what's the difference between b'mezid and b'shaygig? If a woman has a relationship with someone else while she's an eishes ish b'mezid, she can't go back to her first husband. If she has a relationship with someone else while she's an Eishes Ish, b'shaygig, so then she could go back to her first husband. But this is the comparison that Rab Shimon is making, that it's like b'mezid or b'shaygig. Now what's the halacha, says the Gemara? A woman that's an Eishes Ish, that had a relationship with someone else, whether b'mezid or b'shaygig, idi v'idi loy boy get. In both cases, you don't need a get. So if so, what we see here is that Rab Shimon disagrees with our Mishnah. Rab Shimon holds that whether she got remarried based on the words of one aid or two aidim, she does not need a get.
From the second husband.
From the second husband, right? So therefore, what Rab Shimon is saying shows that the first Braisa we just quoted before is not Rab Shimon. When it said in the first Braisa that if she got remarried based on the words of one aid, she will need a get. But if she got remarried based on two aidim, then she will need a get. Again, if she got remarried based on the words of one aid, she needs a get. Based on the words of two aidim, she does not need a get. That's not Rab Shimon. Elolav Rabbanan he. So therefore that first Braisa that we just quoted there is the Rabbanan. So what do I see from this? That this whole halacha to make a distinction between a woman getting remarried with one aid or two aidim, this is not Rab Shimon. The Rabbanan are the ones that say this. So therefore the question is on Rav. Why? This is the second question of Rav Sheishes. How could Rav say that it's only Rab Shimon? We see here in the first Braisa that even Rabbanan agreed to this. So the Gemara here will give three answers to this. And the three answers of the Gemara is going to focus on this second Braisa that we just brought. This second Braisa that's showing that Rab Shimon disagrees with the first Braisa or disagrees with our Mishnah is not necessarily a raya. Says the Gemara, La'olam Rab Shimoni. I can tell you that Braisa is really Rab Shimon, and therefore the distinction between a woman getting remarried, based on one aid or two aid, is still all Rab Shimon. V'tritz hachi. And you have to understand what Rab Shimon said here in this Braisa as follows. So the way we read the Braisa before was that the Gemara said, the Braisa said that the difference between a woman getting remarried based on the words of one aid or two aidim is like the difference between a woman having having a relation with someone else, b'mezid or b'shaygig. But now the Gemara brings another version to this. Rab Shimon Aime, what Rab Shimon said is, Asu Bezdin b'hoira asan. They considered the Bezdin, when the Bezdin said that she can get remarried based on the words of one aid, kavonas. Not the word here is supposed to read it kavonas ish b'isha. It's like a case where a man and a woman, and she's single, she's not even married yet, b'chlal. that she had kavanah to be mekadosh, another man. She went to make a kedushin. She had a relationship with another man with a kavanah to get married to him. And therefore a boy get, meaning that she had kavanah for marriage and therefore you need a get. Al pi'edim, but if she got remarried because two Edom told her that her husband died, kishaloi bekavanas ish bi'isha. Like it's like a relationship which she had with someone else without the kavanah for marriage, and therefore v'loi boy get. She does not need a get. So Rab Shimon was actually saying the exact point that it says in our Mishnah. So Rab Shimon, you could still say that the distinction here between the case of a woman getting married with one Ed or two Edim is only Rab Shimon. Another pshat here in this second brayse that quoted Rab Shimon, Ravashi said, what did the Mishnah mean to say? When the Mishnah said that if she got remarried with one Eid, it's like she had a relationship b'mezid with someone else, and if she got remarried with two Eidim, it's like she had a relationship b'sheigig. L'inyan isura katani. He was only saying this regarding the isser. Did she do an isser or not? V'achi ka'amar. This is what the Mishnah, the Braisa, Rab Shimon was saying in the Braisa. Also, Bezdin Bayra Asan, if Bezdin gave her the permission based on one age to get remarried, Kizada Nish Biisha. So this is like she went and she was mizana with someone else, like she had a relation with someone else when she's in Eishes Ish, and therefore mitzvah al baila. The main point he was trying to say is that she'll not be forbidden to go back to her first husband. Al pi Edim, but if she got remarried based on Edim, Kishigi Gasish Biisha. So this is like it happened unintentionally. She had a relationship with someone else. V'lei mitzvah al baila. She does not become usher to her first husband. But he was not speaking about the halacha of the distinction regarding a get, only regarding whether there's an isser of her going back to her first husband. A third pshat the Gemara brings over here. What did Rab Shimon mean when he was comparing to a mezid or a shaygig? Ravina says, L'inyin carbon katani. That Rab Shimon was only saying this regarding a carbon. And this is what he meant to say. The Bach here adds the words V'hachi ka'amar. This is what he meant to say. Asu bezdin bahira asa. And if bezdin allowed her to get married based on the words of one aid, kizadin ish biisha, that she intentionally had a relation with someone else while she's an Eishes Ish. So v'lei masya carbon. If she's amazed that she doesn't bring a carbon. Al pi edim. But if she got remarried based on the words of edim, kishigigas ish biisha, she's compared to a shaygig, an Eishes Ish that had a relation with someone else b'shaygig, masya carbon. And therefore she brings a carbon. But regarding all the other halachas that we say that there's a distinction between these two cases, when she got married based on the word of an eidechot or two edim, it could still be only Rab Shimon. So this goes back to, this supports what Rav said, that it's only Rab Shimon that's making that distinction and not necessarily the Chachamim. Or now the Gemara goes back to what we said before, and the Gemara says, Ha kamaise rabbanani. The first Braisa that we brought before, really, that is the Rabbanan. And Tritz Hachi, and explain that Braisa as follows. So before, in the Braisa, what did it say in the Braisa? It said there that always, you never, a woman that has a relationship with any of the Arayas, you don't need a get, because the Kedushin never took effect. But then the Braisa said, besides a woman that got married, al pi bezdin. So that Braisa over there, we said, must be the Rabbanan. And in that Braisa it's saying that only if she got remarried based on the words of Bezdin, or Eid Echad, then she'll need a get. But if she got remarried based on the words of two Eidim, she will not need a get. So the Gemara says, you could say that Braisa is the Rabbanon, but you have to read that Braisa differently. Tritz hachi chutz me'eshes ish ve shenisas al pi Bezdin. You just have to add a vav here. What does it accomplish if you add a vav? What it's saying is, besides an Eishes Ish refers to the Eishes Ish that got remarried even based on two Eidim, and then Shenisas al pi Bezdin means that she got remarried based on the words of one Eid. So in other words, what the Rabbanan are saying is, it makes no difference. If she got remarried, whether it's based on two Eidim or one Eid, either way, she will need a get. So therefore we see that the Rabbanan disagree, and therefore Rav said that the halacha is like Rab Shimon, only he had to say that the halacha is like Rab Shimon. That's that's all answering the second question of Rav Sheshes. Now the Gemara goes back to the first question of Rav Sheshes. What was the first question of Rav Sheshes? Rav Sheshes said, how could there be anybody that would disagree with this point? That if she got remarried based on two Eidim, we allow her to go back to the first husband. Rav Sheshes said, "My havalola mevad. Why is it her fault? What else could have she done? She had two Eidim saying that her husband died." So now the Gemara will bring many questions on this point, on this svara of Rav Sheshes. Masav Ula, now Ula asks, Mi amrinan, do we say this point of my havalola mevad? That she could have done nothing, she had nothing, this is not her fault at all, and therefore she can go back to her first husband. But Vatnan, we learned in a Mishnah in Gittin, and here the Gemara is going to bring a few different parts of that Mishnah where we see that even though it seems to be a situation where it's not our fault at all, but nevertheless, there is a knas here. What's the case? So this is talking about a get, and the get was written not according to halacha. Kasav l'shem malchus she'ena igenes. In the get, it was written the time. In the get was written the time of the king. There was a king then, but the king she'ena igenes, not the proper king. What is this referring to? So Rashi says, if you're living in Eretz Yisrael, you have to write the date of the king in Eretz Yisrael. If you're living in another country, you write the king of another country. But instead, they wrote the year of the Roman king, which is Malchus She'ena Higenes. Rashi brings that the Romans, they did not have their own language in that time, and therefore the Chacham were misaken not to write the date based on that king. So the get was written out according to halacha. Or l'shem Malchus Modai, you wrote the date in the get of Malchus Modai, which was not supposed to be written. Or l'shem Malchus Yavam, they wrote the date for the king of Yavan. Or l'binyan Abayis, they wrote the date of Binyan Abayis or l'chorban Abayis from the time when the Beis HaMikdash was built or destroyed. Or regarding the place that they wrote in the get was also incorrect. Haya b'mizrach, they were in the mizrach of the city, on the east, because of b'mayrev, and they wrote mayrev in the get. Or b'mayrev, because of b'mizrach. So what happens now? Since the get was not written properly according to the Chachamim's takana, teitze mizeh or mizeh. So if she went and got remarried after she got this get, she's going to have to leave the second and first husband, and all the other halachas that we had here in our Mishnah at the beginning of the Perek, all those other knesses apply here. So that's the halacha that Mishnah says. So now the Gemara asks, why do we impose such a strict knas on her? We should say, what could she do? Her husband wrote the get for her, gave her the get. She had no idea. She thought she not could get remarried, and she got remarried. Why are we giving her all this knas? And says the Gemara, there is something she should do. She should have opened up the get and read the get and then went to Rav and made sure that the get was written properly. So it still is her fault to some extent. So you can't compare that to our case where she had two Eidim saying that her husband died. Another question the Gemara asks, similar, it says there in that Mishnah. The Mishnah there says, a person goes and marries his Yevamos. And now there was more than one wife here. So now after this Yevamos got married to the Yavam, son of Aholcha Tzarasa, the second wife went, Vinisis, and she got married to someone else, because now she's pater from Yibum. And now Venimtza Zu Islandess, this woman that Yibum was done for her, she turns out to be an islandess, a woman that can't give birth at all, so therefore the mitzvah of Yibum with her is worthless. As we learned before in the Masechta, there is no mitzvah of Yibum for an islandess. So now this tzara, the second wife that got married to someone else, was not allowed to get married to someone else as a lav, and she's the one that Yibum has to be done with her. So now, teitze mizeh, this is going according to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says because she was over a lav and got married to someone else, so this is an erva of a lav, she has to leave her second husband, and she can't get married to the Yavam either. All of the knossos we mentioned, they are applied to this. So again, the question is, V'amai, why do we impose upon her such a major knas? Name it, we should say the svara of Rav Sheshes, what could have she done? She thought that her other wife, the rival wife, already did the mitzvah of Yibum, so it doesn't apply to her. Answers the Gemara, there is something she should have done. She should have waited. She should have waited to be sure that the other wife that did the mitzvah of Yibum is not an islandess. So therefore, she gets a knas. Another raya, Amar Abaye Toshama, it says during the Mishnah, similar halacha. Kol harayish amru paitreis tzarisein. So we had this halacha of all the arayis in the beginning of the Masechta, that if they are an erva to the Yavam, so not only do they not have the mitzvah of Yibum, but the second wife doesn't have the mitzvah of Yibum as well. So what happened now? Because one of the wives are erva, so now holchut sarais, the other wives also went v'nisu, and they got remarried to someone else. But then v'nimtzu elu islandess. But then that woman that's an erva turned out to be an islandess. And if she turned out to be an islandess, even the first marriage was never a marriage. All marriage was a mekach tos. She turned out to be an islandess. So now this woman that's an erva does not pater any of the other women of Yibum. So they were not allowed to get married to someone else. Teitze mizeh. So she has to leave the first and the second husband. And all the other knossos that we said here apply. So again, the question is, why do we apply this knas there? Name it, we should say, what is it that this woman could do? She thought that the woman that is an erva is an islandess. Now again, she thought that woman that's an erva is not an island. She thought that it patters her from the mitzvah of Yibum. What could have she done? This is the Gemara again. She should have waited to be sure that that woman is not an idleness. Again, another raya, all from that Mishnah there in Gittin. Amar Rav Tashamat says there in the Mishnah, Kosav Seifa Get Leish. So what happens is when a get is being written, so the Seifa writes a get for the man that he's going to give the get to his wife, and V'shoiver Leisha, then he's writing a receipt for the woman, and this woman is going to give the receipt to her husband after he gives her the ksuba money. But what happened? A mistake happened there. V'tov v'nosan get Leisha. By mistake, he gave the get to the woman, so the woman gave her husband the get, and V'shoiver Leish, and the receipt, the husband gave the receipt to the wife. Each one gave the wrong document to the other. And after a while they realize that the husband is the one that has the get, and the woman is the one that has the receipt. So what happens now? She has to leave a second husband. If she got remarried, she has to leave him, and she has to leave the first husband. But we apply all the knossos that we mentioned there. So now the question is, why do we apply such a knas here? Namely, we should say, what is it that she could have done? She was relying on her husband that gave her the get. Answers the Gemara, like we said before, she should have read this get, and she would have seen what it says inside the get. She would have seen right away that it's not a get. She got the receipt that was written for her. Rav Ashi said, Toshima, I'll bring you a raya from another point that it says there in the Mishnah. Shina Shma Yushma, her name or his name was changed in the get, or Shem Ira Vishem Ira, the name of his city or her city that was supposed to be written in the get was changed. Taisus over here says, or Rashi, I think it says, that it doesn't literally mean, or Taisus brings it doesn't literally mean that if her name is Sarah, they wrote Leah instead. But she has two names. Sometimes a woman in one city, she has one nickname, in another city she has another nickname, and she was in one city where she has a certain nickname, and they wrote a different nickname in the get. So they changed the name in that she usually is called in that city. So in such a case, what does it say? The get did not take effect. So if she got remarried, Teitzei Mizeh Mizeh, she'll have to leave her first and second husband. We apply all these knossos. So again, the question is, Vamai, why do we apply all these knossos? Name him, why don't we say, what is it that she could have done in this case? So Taisus over here points out that the Gemara, when it asks this question, it knew the answer that it already said before, that she has to read her get, but in this case, the Gemara held that even if she would read her get, she would think that it's kosher because her name is written in the get. Answers the Gemara, no, but still, she should have read her get, took it to a Rav, and made sure that it's 100% kosher. Again, the Gemara brings another ayah, a similar halacha. Kinsa beget kireach. So this is a halacha of a get that's written specifically for a kohen. This is an interesting halacha that says in the end of the Gemara of Baba Basra, when it comes to a kohen, the Gemara says kohenim are kapdonim. They can get angry very quickly. So therefore, we're afraid that they could divorce their wife when they get angry very quickly. So they will masakin for a kohen that when he writes a get for his wife, he has to write what's called a get mekusher. A get that's written in a very interesting way. You write a line, then you fold over the page on that line, and you tie it closed, and then an 8 signs on that line, and then you write another line, and fold it over and tie it, and another 8 signs, and then you write a third line, and you fold it over again, and a third 8 signs. So you write a get, and every fold you make another 8 has to sign. So let's say you're going to make 10 folds, you're going to have 10 Eidim signing in it. Every fold another 8. Why do they make this kakana? So it'll take a very long time to write the get, so then the kohen that wants to divorce his wife may have the time to calm down and change his mind. So what happened over here? This is a get kereach. Get kereach means they made the folds, but they did not have the proper amount of witnesses signing on each fold. So the get is not kosher because they didn't do it like Chachamim instituted. So again, teitzei mizeh mizeh chulu. So she has to leave the first and second husband, and all the knossos apply. So the question is, but why don't we say that it's not her fault? She didn't realize. She thought that this is a kosher get. So again, the answer is, she should have read the get. She should have looked inside the get and seen exactly to make sure that it's kosher or not. So this is the conclusion of all the questions on this. But now the Gemara says, Rav Papa sava lemevad uvde b'mai havelo lemevad. Rav Papa, so he thought to paskin, like we just said, that we applied the svara of mai havelo lemevad, and therefore she can go back to her first husband. So the Gemara says, Amalei Rav Huna bereid Rav Yeshua Rav Papa, but so Rav Huna bereid Rav Yeshua said to Rav Papa, V'hatanya kol hani masnaisa. don't we have over here all of these braises, and we see in all of these braises that we do not say my havalela mevad. We don't apply that svara. Amalei, but v'lav shaninu. Weren't they all answered? We gave an answer for all these cases, and in all these cases she could have looked, she could have seen. Amalei, so he said to them, Vashanuye leikiv lismech. On all of these answers, you're going to rely on all these answers. He says it's like these answers are not really good answers. The truth is, the woman over here in all these cases is not really at fault. We don't expect her to open the get and look. And if a Rav or for a Sefer wrote the get, she could rely on it. So therefore, we see from all these Mishnayos that we don't say my havala lemevad. Sorry, that we do say my havala lemevad. We do say that it's not our fault, and therefore the knossos don't apply. Okay, so therefore, upasak, the Gemara says upasak, he paskind. Again, let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. We do not say my aval mevad, right? In all of these cases, we see that it's l'chayra not our fault, but nevertheless the knas still applies. So we don't say the svara of my aval mevad, and here, according to one gears in the Gemara, o pasak, this was the final psak that we do not say my aval mevad, and this is actually the final psak in Shulchan Aruch that a woman that got remarried because she was told her husband passed away, whether 1/8 said this or 2/8 said this, it doesn't matter. She never can go back to her husband, and we do not say, in a case where there were 2/8, my aval mevad, what could have I done? No, nevertheless, it's still considered to be, to some degree, her fault. She should have waited or made an investigation further. Amar Rav Ashi, so Rav Ashi says, another halacha here regarding this that we say that if she gets married based on the words of Bezdin, she can't go back to her first husband. But if there was a rumor about the fact that her husband is still alive, so then we're not chayshish for that. Right? So then she could still remain married to her second husband. She got remarried, and now there's a rumor out there that her first husband is still alive. We don't pay attention to this rumor. She can remain married to her second husband. So the Gemara wants to understand, when's this rumor? Hi Kola. When did this rumor come out? If there's a rumor that came out before she got remarried, and it's sort of obvious to the Gemara that that's the case. If there was a rumor before she got remarried, the Bezdin would never let her get remarried. So the rumor only came out after she got remarried, and on that, Rav Ashi is saying we don't pay attention to this rumor once she's remarried. This point Rav Ashi already said once. Rav Ashi said, Kol kola the basa nisuin. Anytime there's a rumor that comes out after a woman gets married, and then there's some kind of a rumor that this is not a good marriage. Rashi brings the example of a kohen that gets married, and then there's a rumor that comes out and says that this woman that he got married to is passel to a kohen. We don't pay attention to a rumor once she's married to this wife. So why does Rav Ashi have to say it over here again regarding this case of a woman that there's a rumor that her husband is still alive? And says the Gemara here, it's different. I would think to say that over here it's different, that since she already came before to Bezdin, and Visharinon, and Bezdin looked into this matter. It's not like she just went and got married without any problems at all. There was a problem here. There was a question whether her husband is still alive or not. And Bezdin investigated, and Bezdin had to give her a special heter to go and get remarried. So therefore, maybe I would say, Kikola de Kamein Isuindami. Since this was something already that was a problem and looked into before she got remarried, so now that there's a rumor that her husband is actually still alive, I should consider that to be as if there was there was a rumor, that is, before she got remarried, that her husband is still alive, a titzer. And therefore she should now be usher to remain married to her second husband. Hamash Malan, that's why the Rav Ashi is saying this again, that even in this case, because she's already remarried, and the rumor only came out after she got remarried, she could remain married to her second husband.